Hello everyone, we're back here with Terhi Nurminen, who is a student from Change Course, and she's in her second year here at Veda Folkhögskola in Sweden. Hello Terhi.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you today?
It's been a very eventful day, but feel like it's on the better half now, so feeling a bit relaxed.
What are you working on right now at the course?
So I'm in the second year of Change course, which means that this year is focused on an individual project, and my project is one could say database of different opportunities offered for young people in Finland. So I've just done a lot of planning, and now I'm actually doing some market research on the topic and then seeing if this is something worth doing actually.
Terhi, I know that before coming to Sweden, you've also had different educational experiences in Slovakia and in the US. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Sure. So I've been living most of my life in Finland, and that's where I also started high school. And I was hoping to go to an exchange, but those tend to be quite expensive. And I was like, okay, well, I probably don't have the means, so I'm just gonna do high school in Finland and then in the uni maybe go abroad. But then already during my first year in high school, my school was part of this Erasmus Plus project with a lot of different partner schools, twin schools. And I got the opportunity to go to Slovakia for 2 months. And of course I was like, yay, I didn't know nothing about the country, so I get to go abroad, like that's amazing. And so I went to a French school actually, so I went to Slovakia, but the school was completely in French, and it was probably life-changing, I could say, for me. I remember this one afternoon, I was walking from school to my host family or my home there, and I was thinking, okay, I'm in a foreign country. 2 months ago, I didn't know almost anything about this country, I didn't know the language. Here I am, I'm walking on my own back home. I can read some of the ads. I'm out there, I'm in the world, and I can do this. I can. And it was also a very different environment. The school was very different. On the walls you could see all the cool things students were doing, different competitions, how well they did, and different diplomas from so many things. And when I'm in Finland, it's like such things you never hear about them, what people do. It's not encouraged in the same way.
Let's talk a bit on the word competition. Isn't this something that is happening in every educational system?
Also, when I say competition, I'm talking about competition as of an actual range thing where you go and compete. And no, not really. We don't really have. We have a couple of national competitions in math and economics, I think, and some other natural sciences. But that's about that. In Finland, we don't compete that much. We try to focus on rather giving everyone equal opportunity rather than lifting the best. We don't put so much focus on them.
And you would have liked to have more of that?
In a sense, I think you need both. It's not enough that you support those who are struggling. You also need to offer things for those who are already doing well, so that they don't get bored in class. They actually have something to reach for. Because almost my whole life I've been sitting in class and being like, I kind of got this. I maybe don't do homework because I've already learned things, and that's not good. You don't learn how to study, and you don't learn how to work, and you just lose motivation.
And what about your US experience? US was after Slovakia, right?
Yes, that was that was the summer after my second year in high school. I got a scholarship to go to DC. It was part of a scholarship program, and I was there for 6 weeks. And I think at that time, I think Finland, Slovakia, the cultures are not the same, but they're pretty similar. And even if US is also a Western country, there you could more clearly see the difference in culture. And of course, I spoke the language as well. And people were so open and so loud, and in US there's this concept of an American dream. You work hard and you can achieve whatever. Of course, it may not be the reality, but that's the mentality people have, and that's what people believe very much. So it is very much encouraged to go and achieve and do things that are out of ordinary. And there I felt that for the first time I could actually talk about what I'm doing. Because back at home, if I'm telling about things I'm engaged in, different initiatives that I'm part of, that would be considered a bit weird, because that was not something that people normally do, and it's not something that you're not supposed to talk about things when you do well.
That would be the general belief.
Yeah, there's an attitude that we have a saying that if you have happiness, you should hide it, and that's kind of partly portraying, I think, this. You shouldn't think that you're anything special. You shouldn't think that you're better than others, which, of course, it's not like one human being is inherently better, but this feeling that, okay, if you're doing better than other people, you should not tell about it. You should not be upfront that, hey, I'm good at this.
What would happen if you would tell people?
I remember when, after I finished secondary school, 9th grade, and we went to, my neighbor at the same time tried to enter high school, and so we went to a graduation party, which is a cultural tradition. You host parties and then neighbors and relatives come. And we had some people that we both knew, and I ended up talking with them, and then they would be asking me, okay, but what was your GPA? And I was like, yeah, well, it was good. And then they would go again, yeah, but what's the number? And because I got almost a perfect GPA, and when I said it, their faces just dropped, and they were like, they made such a big issue out of it, and they were just like,
issue?
Not an issue as, yeah, they made a big thing out of it, and they wouldn't act normally after that. And I think even if it was not a negative response per se, I felt like, okay, being the center of attention is not where you're supposed to be, and getting that, oh, but that's not real, and how can it even be? This reaction felt odd, because
if you were to think of 3 beliefs that people or youth might have in Finland about success, about the future, what would be your assumption on that?
I need to think for a moment. This is a difficult question. Success is something that you're not supposed to openly go for. If it comes, it should come as some sort of side effect. It should not be something that you actively, openly at least, pursue for.
Or talk about.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not emphasize and that's something that other people maybe see somewhere, but that's not something you bring up. And something, I think one thing that you see quite often in different online forums is this thought that if you're thinking about like we give small prizes, say, or recognition, this piece of paper, maybe with money at the end of school year to, well, there are different criteria, but often for people who did well in a certain subject or had in general a high GPA. And every year there's this discussion, oh, but we should give recognition to those who worked hard, and what about supporting the people who are just barely making it? And that, because that is one day when we give recognition to those who have done well. And even then there's this idea, but how about what about the others? So I feel there's almost this thing that by succeeding you're taking away something from others. I think that's one. And if I'm thinking of the third one, at least this is what I have kind of perceived, is that success is very much okay if you are an athlete, if you are a musician, maybe, but apart from that, that's not something that's not something people are willing to acknowledge. Even if there is a Finn somewhere in the world doing great things, it almost seems like everybody's waiting for their failure. Mm-hmm. Like we had this singer competing in X Factor UK. She had already placed second in the Voice of Finland, which is a big singing competition in Finland. And people were so much like, oh, will she fail this week? Will she be like drop out? And then they'd always like be like, because actually she was a wild card, so she had already fallen out of the competition, and then she was brought back as one wild card. And people had gotten so nasty when she didn't make it the next round. And then it was actually a bit ironic to see that she placed second in that competition as well. Mm-hmm. But somehow people just wouldn't be supportive of her, but tried to find the things that she didn't do well in.
I know that you're supposed to go next year to US to start college.
Yes.
Courses. Why US and not Finland? For you?
There are many things, and I think the first and foremost reason for me to start looking at US universities was this feeling of a better cultural fit. I think Finland as a country is great one for most people, but for a person like me who I'm a bit too loud and I'm doing a bit too much, or that's how I feel. I feel that I'm not supported in that and not necessarily allowed. And I felt that US is the complete opposite, because that's a country, and that's what they tell themselves, that if not them, it was their grandparents or maybe their parents who chose this country, who chose to actively be part of this community and contribute to that. And I think that sort of environment will also push me to better realize my goals and work toward them harder. And then there are all the more practical things. I don't know what I want to major in, and in US when you apply to college you don't need to know. You're not allowed to have a declared major in my university until end of your second year. No, I think, well, that's when you have to declare it. During the first year nobody has a major, so there's a lot more academic freedom to explore things and do interdisciplinary studies.
Thank you, and I wish you good luck. And as one last thing, what is a belief that you will take with you in your journey in the future?
You thank me and then you give this last thing. Yes, let me think.
the belief that I take with me is that the same thing does not fit everyone, and that's okay. You're free to explore, you're free to find the place that fits you, and, well, not you that fits the place, that would be weird, but, and that it's fine to look for your own place and maybe not be content with what you have. Pursue for something else.
That's very inspiring. Thank you, Terhi.
Thank you.
And see you everyone in our next coaching interview.